You're growth focused and you want to scale your organization to new heights. But driving consistent, predictable growth can feel like navigating a maze of challenges, misaligned strategies, ineffective planning, and unclear leadership roles. In today's episode, we'll break it all down, exploring what true growth leadership looks like, the roadblocks that hold businesses back, and how to align your strategy for long term success. Get ready for actionable insights that will transform how you approach growth in your organization. Hi, I am Tim Fitzpatrick with Rialto Marketing, where we believe marketing shouldn't be difficult. Thank you so much for taking the time to tune in. I am super excited to have Rick Meekins with Epiphany with me today. Rick, thanks for taking the time.
Oh, absolutely, Tim. Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm looking forward to this. I
Yeah,
always
me
enjoy.
too. I'm excited to dig into this with you. So before we jump into the heart of the interview, I want to ask you a few rapid fire questions to help us get to know you. Are
For
you
sure.
ready to jump in with both feet?
Let's do this.
Okay. So when you're not working, how do you like to spend your time?
I like to go to the gym.
Love it. And anything in particular at the gym, or just
Well, I do strength training. I like to pick heavy stuff up and put it back down, as we say.
nice? I love it. What's your hidden talent?
I am actually a formerly trained chef. I was in the restaurant industry for about 17 years. I had a restaurant. I had a catering company. I did. I made dinner for famous people. I had a lot of fun with
I never would have guessed that.
that.
Now, do you enjoy cooking, for yourself now that you're out of it? Or
Absolutely, absolutely.
yeah,
I love it. It's like my family loves Thanksgiving,
yeah,
because it's like, I usually go crazy there. So yeah, I absolutely enjoy it.
love it. Sometimes it's like the cobbler that has no shoes. So that's why I ask. What's the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
The I think it was said the best way to make yourself unhappy is to try to make everyone else happy, or something along those lines.
Yeah, yeah, I like that. That's a good one. What's one thing about you that surprises people?
Um, I'm not sure, to be honest with you. I try to be pretty transparent with people. I'm 6'4", 250. I don't know if that's
Okay, yeah,
that's a surprise.
uh, yeah. That's the thing when we communicate virtually, it's hard to tell.
Right.
You can't tell how tall people are when you do that. So I would not have known that. So I appreciate you sharing that.
Sure.
I'm on the other end of the spectrum. So you're 6'4", 250. I'm like 5'9", 170. so so you'd make me look short. What does success mean to you?
Success. I really want to make, and I know this is kind of like a general answer. I really want to make a positive impact on the world. The thing that um, I'm passionate about is essentially people being able to provide for themselves, which is really why I do what I do. I'm really focused on helping business leaders, helping founders build sustainable companies. And so that's really, if I can do that, if I
So Rick, where's your happy place?
well, my happy place is actually in the gym. I love going there. When I'm feeling bad, I really want to go back to the gym and just like hang out and pick up heavy stuff again.
uh, what about qualities in the people that you spend time with? What qualities do you value?
It was interesting. I was listening to a podcast the other day, or watching a podcast the other day, and it was, something the guest said really struck a chord with me. And what she was saying was that I appreciate growth oriented people that are like looking, 2, 3 years down the road. They're growing, they're reading, they're, listening to podcasts and that sort of thing. I mean, that's so important. I love the exchange of information, just sitting down and having a conversation, being able to have an intelligent, logical conversation with someone. And it really, um, both of us, really all of us in the conversation really being able to benefit from that. In addition to, having, values and, being honorable people and that sort of thing. But
Yeah, I love it. Tell us more about what you're doing at Epiphany.
well, the cool thing we're doing a few cool things at Epiphany, things that I think are cool. We have our biggest offering, our primary offering right now is the what we call the RPOW Growth Accelerator. It's a rapid relentless pursuit of winning accelerator. And what we're doing is we're working with companies, typically smaller companies, and we're taking them through basically like a 3-day accelerator program. So we're looking at, the gaps, we're looking at the opportunities, and we're looking at, developing a roadmap to help them implement some growth programming. And this is, kind of a low cost offer. The other thing that we do is more of a full scale growth leadership type of program. So we go in and we do a much longer, much deeper dive into what the company is doing. And then we actually go along with them. I'll go in as part of the leadership team and actually help them implement the growth programs that we have.
Got it.
The other thing we're doing is we're doing the podcast, a relentless pursuit of winning podcast. I'm have so many great guests on there. I'm not caught up to you. I don't have nearly as many shows as you do, but I'm really enjoying that process.
Yeah, it just it takes time. Um, so it's all good. So let's dig into growth because I think that gosh, there's so many different ways we can grow our companies. I think a lot of business owners just get kind of stuck in that, man, what like where do I even start? So, as a growth leader, when you go into an organization and you look at growth as a whole, what kinds of things are you looking at?
I think the most important one of the most important things to me is to really understand how the company defines growth. Most companies are saying, "Hey, you know what? I'm looking at increasing revenue, increasing profit, et cetera, et cetera." And then from there, we're looking at the systems, the tools that the company has in place. So primarily, when I'm looking, the first place I'm looking is really at their marketing, their sales, and their customer experience, and making sure that they're aligned.
Yeah.
So often I see companies just doing marketing for the sake of if they're doing marketing. They're doing marketing for the sake of marketing. It's like, hey, we're just going to push out on social media or this or that, and then the sales department is doing something altogether different that's not really aligned. Marketing is not really driving leads. It's more just, visibility thing. And then customer experience sometimes is kind of the afterthought. They're not
Mhm.
thinking about, hey, how do we create a great customer onboarding experience? Hey, how do we make sure that our customers are really enjoying, this project, this process that they're going through? Hey, how do we, get feedback from our customers to make sure that they know that we care? And then how do we empower our customers to recommend us to their folks that are having similar issues?
I love it. I want to recap a couple of these things. So first, we need to define growth, right? Because if your definition of growth is different than theirs, uh, even if you help them grow, they're going to go, well, we didn't grow, right? Because we've defined it a different way. So you're making sure that you're on the same page as to, hey, how do we define growth? Once we've defined it, then we're looking at, what kind of systems and tools do we have in place? And I love how you talked about marketing, sales, and then customer experience. Because the way I think about that, or another way to think about it, is what you're doing there is looking at the entire customer journey. What's the experience from, and the way I think about the customer journey is an hourglass. John Jantz over at Duct Tape Marketing popularized that, where you got the sand in the top and it's just working its way down, and you've got the 7 steps of know, like, trust, try, buy, repeat, refer. And marketing's at the top, and then sales in the middle, and then customer experience or customer service is at the bottom of the hourglass. And so making sure that all of those things are in alignment, like you can grow, but you're gonna reach roadblocks if you have gaps in the customer journey, right? Which is why you're looking at that experience to help them fuel growth, right?
Absolutely. Yep.
Got it. I love it. Anything else that you're looking at, or are there any other areas where maybe there's quick wins while you're working on some of these more longer term growth strategies?
Interestingly, perhaps not interestingly, but the IT, the software that's behind, those systems. As as founders, we're looking for that intelligence. Where do we need to invest our money? What is working? What's not working? Et cetera, et cetera. And if we have the right tools, the right systems in place, we're able to track that data. And at the
Yeah.
same time, we're empowering our team because our team has good data to be able to use. How many times do you see a sales team that has a CRM system, but they're not quite using it the same way, or they're not putting all their information in, et cetera, et cetera. And you have all these deals, these potential deals that, hey, we're not ready right now, but we might be ready in 3 months. And they're not necessarily remembering to go back and check those.
Yeah.
So we want to make sure all those pieces are in place. And then, of course, looking from a customer feedback, customer experience perspective, being able to track over time, hey, what are the things our clients are liking? What are they not liking? Why aren't they referring us? And we have data. If we've got data, if we've got the software implemented throughout the customer journey and we're tracking that data, we've got great intel that we can use to further improve our
Yeah.
growth program, especially as the markets change. When things change, if we don't have any basis to work from, we don't know exactly what to change.
Yeah.
Software is going to help us with that.
Yeah. Yeah. I find too, software can get very complex, right? The tools and the systems can get complex, but just because they can get complex doesn't mean that we should allow them to get that way, right? Because to me, it's that complexity gets in the way of people actually implementing, right? So on the marketing side, we see that all the time where it's like, oh my gosh, I've got this email marketing software and I can do all these cool automations. And if they do this activity, then they go down this path. And if they do this, they go down this one. And that makes it very, very difficult to implement, and it makes it difficult to troubleshoot when things go wrong.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't know. I lean more towards simplicity and just stripping things down to their bare essentials. How do you think about it? And there's no right or wrong here. I'm just kind of curious to see how you think about it.
Sure, sure. I really look at it from more from the strategic perspective. It's like, what are we
Mhm.
trying to accomplish?
Yeah,
And then I'm looking at, what are the processes that we need to use in order to get, what are the objectives, what are the processes that we need to use? Then we apply software to that
yeah,
so that we have the right software. We're not, as you said, we're not, reaching beyond where we need to and getting distracted by all the little bells and whistles.
yeah,
I look at it from a purchase perspective as well. If we're going to go and help a company find their software, again, we're going to start with strategy. We're going to understand the business first, how the business runs, before we're going to look at software. Because
yeah,
it's the hardest thing to do. One of the hardest things to do is to get people to change. They've been doing something a certain way for however long. If whenever we introduce something that is completely different, that onboarding, that adaption rate is just so much longer. And you're sitting here going, I'm paying for this every month. I'm paying this team, and we're not getting the results. And
yeah,
you know, yeah, so that's just my approach.
yeah. I love it. Let's talk about planning a little bit. Obviously, with what I do on the marketing side, planning is absolutely critical. But I also say that implementation and execution is where great plans go to die. Like, yeah, you can put together this great plan, but then if you fail to implement and execute on it, you might as well have just not spent the time to do it. So, what do you see? Keeps business planning from successfully being implemented?
There's three primary areas that I really try to work in. The first, of course, is the team, the people that are actually going to be impacted by the change. The second is the strategy itself. And there's two components to that strategy, and then the third piece of that is the implementation. So going back and looking at the team leadership, I've seen engagements where the leadership was just not engaged, in the growth program. And because the leadership is not engaged, then the team's not as engaged. They're not taking it as seriously.
Yeah,
And of course, you have the team itself. We need to understand where the team is. If the team is, I mean, everybody's going to have different adoption rates. They're going to say, there's going to be people that are going to run in, they're going to jump on it, says, oh, this thing is cool. And we're going to have people on the opposite side of the spectrum saying, hey, you know what, I don't want to do this change. I like the way that I'm doing things. And we really need to understand that before we get into the planning stage, because obviously we want the right people on the bus, but we also want people moving forward.
Yeah.
Then when we get into the actual strategy, we have to take into consideration our team. How quickly can we move this forward? How many objectives, should we look at one time? How aggressive can growth really potentially be? Because if you think about strategy implementation, it happens on two levels. One, hey, we implemented a software solution. Okay. So we have the tactical level. And then two, we have the human level. Okay. The human is going to look at the new software and it's going to take them time to change.
Yeah.
So we have to think about this as we're developing our strategy, or our strategy is just not going to work. It's going to, potentially overwhelm the company. And
Yeah.
then that third piece of that, the implementation, and this is sometimes the hard one. I've seen a lot of companies, they try to take on too many initiatives. They're thinking it's like, okay, you know what, we've got to, look at all our initiatives for a year or whatever. We have seen, just in the past 5 years, how quickly things change. So we have to look at our horizons realistically. Yes, we have our goal, that thing that we're shooting for, 2-3 years down the road. But let's look at one quarter at a time. What are we going to do over the next 90 days that's going to make an impact on the organization? If we're looking wrong longer than that, we can be wrong.
Yeah.
The other thing that we do is we continue to look. So we get to that 90-day mark and we look at, hey, what has changed? What's the same? Where are the opportunities? We always have to think in terms of, not doing things just for the sake of doing things, but doing things to create strategic advantage for the organization. And that's really critical. So
Yeah.
this is why we do what we do. A lot of times we'll go into a company and, I need the authority to really drive that growth, to really work with the team, to really understand, the different levels of the different speeds of change that different people go through. I've
Yeah.
done this for 20 years. I know how to work with teams and help them to get on the same page, or to coach the leadership. Hey, we've got to work with this, this individual, in order to make sure that this particular initiative is going to happen. I know how to scan the marketplace and say, hey, these things are changing. These things are going to change. We need to prepare ahead of time.
Yeah.
It was really wild before COVID. We had this company and we helped them go through incredible growth, and it was absolutely phenomenal. I said to them, it was like, we need to diversify. We need to diversify. We need to get into some other businesses, because if something happens, then the company's going to be in trouble. The company was in hospitality. We go into COVID. There's no more hospitality. All the
No.
projects dried up within 2 weeks. It was absolutely devastating to and the company hasn't come back, which is absolutely horrible.
Yeah.
But they should have, if they had diversified, then they there's a chance that they could still be doing what they did.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to break some of this stuff down because you just shared a ton of really valuable information. So when we're looking at implementation, we've got to look at the team, right? But to make sure we've got buy-in, but then also, like, do they have time? Do they have the capabilities to actually implement, right? And if
Yep.
not, we need to be able to fill those gaps, whether it's internally or, bringing somebody in from outside. Then we've got the actual, our strategy and what's our plan going to be to accomplish that strategy, and then we start shifting into implementation. One of the things that you shared that I think, man, you are speaking my language, is 90 days. Like, we need to look at planning in 90 days. It's important to know where we're headed long term, but like on the marketing side, I'm always talking about, man, a year-long marketing plan is an absolute waste of time. Like,
Hmm.
we can have an idea of some of the things that we have on the horizon that we want to consider in the next 6 to 12 months, but the things that in the next 90 days are going to have a huge impact as to whether we actually end up focusing on those things in 6 to 12 months. And The other thing I love about 90-day planning is it keeps things simple,
Yeah.
which means it's going to be easier to implement and execute on. And you know as well as I do, at the end of a 90-day plan, things have changed. You've gathered data, right? The data is telling you, hey, are we headed in the right direction? Or are we not? Do we need to make shifts and course corrections? And at the end of those 90 days, you're taking that information and going, okay, what are we going to do the next 90 days?
Yeah.
Right. And so I love that because I just think long-term planning is way too complex and you're changing it 90 days in anyways. So what's the point?
Yep, yep, absolutely. I think the other cool thing is it really helps to keep people motivated. If they're part of that change, they're seeing progress happen.
Yeah.
They can be excited. Especially because you get that social proof. It's like, hey,
Yeah.
we did this thing in 90 days. Cool. What's going to be next? What are we going to accomplish next? What other tools are you going to give me to be successful? So
Yeah.
yeah, I love. I actually learned that. We used to have a marketing company, and we used to do 90-day sprints, like you're
Yeah.
talking about. It's just like, this is perfect.
Yeah.
This actually allows us to really show progress, and again, keep everybody on board.
Yeah. It helps keep you focused on what are the priorities.
Hmm.
And because there's so many distractions, right? I mean, we've
Oh yeah.
got, online and social media, and there's all this information coming at us. And if we don't know what our priorities are, it's so easy to be like a squirrel chasing a nut and just being like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go down this path. But when we have our priorities for the next 90 days, it's like, no, these are the three things that I'm focused on.
Yeah.
And I always tell people like, it doesn't mean that the stuff that comes across that sounds interesting is a bad idea. It's just not now. So put it
Yeah.
on a not now list and revisit it later so that you don't want to forget about it. But half the time you go back to your not now list and you're like, yeah, I don't need to do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And the company has to continue to run, and that's
yes.
the thing. We can't drop the ball while we're going through change.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So let's talk a little bit. I love, you're a growth leader. Sometimes people may refer to you as like a chief growth officer, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, a really popular term that I am seeing come up all the time now is chief revenue officer. There's a lot of people. I'm a fractional chief revenue officer, or where what are the differences in your opinion between a chief revenue officer and what you guys focus on at Epiphany?
Well, when you look at a chief revenue officer, I mean, their job is like specifically to drive revenue. They're going out, they're finding deals, they're,
Yes.
empowering the sales team. They have very specific revenue goals, that they're
Yeah.
trying to accomplish. My work is more strategic. I'm looking at how things are being done. I'm looking at how the marketing is being done, how the sales are being done, how the customer experience. Then the other piece of that is I'm kind of looking in the back of the organization saying, okay, do we have, proper product fit? Do we have the people that can actually execute the work that needs to be done? So if we've got like a more holistic, so a growth leader is going to take a more holistic view of the organization.
Yeah.
There's nothing worse than, the sales team, exceeding the back office's capacity. And
Yeah.
then you've got customers that are waiting, weeks, months, or whatever. They're just, they're getting, poor quality work, and you get, customer dissatisfaction. That's the antithesis of why we're doing what we do.
Yeah.
So if we're looking at the whole thing, we're saying, okay, we need to increase capacity here. We need to increase capability. We need to create new products, because this is what our customers are asking for. Then we have a more holistic approach to growth.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and depending on how they define growth is going to dictate what you end up focusing on for them, right? So
True. Yes.
part of
Yes.
part of that definition of growth could be, well, we see growth as increasing revenue, right? But it may not. I mean, there are other ways to define it. So I love that distinction because the way I think about chief revenue officers is they're really focused on marketing, sales, and then revenue operations, right? The revenue operations side of customer service and the tools that are being used throughout the entire revenue generation cycle. So yes, they may not, although it's a higher level, what you're doing is going even higher and looking at just everything as a
Yep.
whole, and how we can drive growth, because there's other ways to drive growth throughout a company other than focusing on just the traditional revenue
Yeah.
categories that we think of.
Yeah.
Um, what would you say, like, some outside of the traditional CRO type things that they're focusing on? What other elements of the business do you end up looking at that help growth?
Um, well, I mean, if we look at growth from the perspective, like you said, we want to increase our customer base. You know, that's a thing.
Yeah,
That's something I'm not necessarily going to get as deeply into like the nuts and bolts of that, but I would do the strategic planning for that. It's like, okay, this is how we're going to, enter a new market, et cetera, et cetera.
yeah,
If we're looking at, I'm sorry, did I say expanding our customer base?
yeah. So
Okay.
expanding customer base, right? Sometimes you're helping them expand into a new market,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right, as a growth
Um,
driver.
we look from the perspective of the average revenue per customer. How do we increase that? We look at obviously looking at the people that we already have. These are going to be these are going to be our best customers because we don't have to go out and get them. So we're lowering our cost of acquisition, so to speak. So
Yeah,
it's like, are we developing new products, or are we having a better understanding of them and expanding whatever product offering that we have, going from something that's smaller to something that is broader, still creating that value for our customers.
yeah,
The other thing, well, I guess we kind of alluded to it, but going, if we say, hey, we're going to open an office in Austin, we're going to open another office in Washington, et cetera, et cetera. We have that same, customer expansion that we can do in order to grow the company.
yeah, yeah. So we well, and I, as business owners, we have a very difficult time seeing the forest through the trees, because we're so close to our business.
Yeah.
And so, by bringing someone like you in that's coming from the outside that has a fresh perspective, oftentimes it's a lot easier to see some of those gaps and where some of those opportunities are. Um, so there's a ton of value in that. If growth is a priority, bringing somebody like you in to get a fresh perspective, and and somebody that can help them see some of the mistakes and pitfalls on that path that they can avoid, um, is really, really important. So I love it. Rick, thank you for sharing all this info. Before we wrap things up, I just want to ask you any last minute thoughts, words of wisdom you want to share with us before we wrap it up.
Yeah, I mean, I really echo what you were saying about bringing in a growth officer. I mean, it's like, especially when we work with founders, working with a founder says, hey, you know what, I know how to do what I do. I do it really, really well, and they get their company to a certain point, and it's like, okay, what's next for me? What are even the opportunities? So bringing in someone like me to kind of work alongside of that founder, they can continue to do what they do. I can look at the organization, like you said, as a whole and understand, where the opportunities, where the gaps are, and this may be something even to the degree of, okay, founder, you've done a great job. We need to bring in a CEO that really knows how to do, really knows to continue to push your company forward.
Yeah,
We need to build a staff. We need to do all these other things that are sometimes just outside of a founder's capabilities or understanding. If we've got an
yeah,
organization that's more established, this is where I come in and I'm just totally focused on what that growth program is going to look like.
yeah,
So again, the company can continue to run, do what they do. And my job is to really kind of look and observe what's going on in the environment and saying, okay, we need to do this, we need to do this. And it's an ongoing process.
yeah.
So
I love it. Where can people learn more about you and connect?
You know what? The easiest way I wouldn't encourage you to try to spell the company name. This was something that happened like 20 years ago. Huge marketing mistake, but we built brand awareness. If you go to coffeeandaconsult.com, that's going to be the easiest way. It's spelled just like it sounds. Coffeeandaconsult.com. You can catch there. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Instagram, but this is really an easy way to catch what we're doing, and you can go check out the rest of the website and that sort of thing.
Cool. I love it. So coffeeandaconsult.com. Go connect with Rick there, or search him up on LinkedIn, and we'll make sure that info is in the show notes as well. Rick, thank you again for taking the time, man. I really appreciate it. This was a great conversation, and I know there's plenty of nuggets in there for people to latch on to. Those of you that are watching, listening, thank you. We appreciate you. If you want to connect with us, you can do that over at rialtomarketing.com. It's RIALTO marketing.com. The other free resource we've got for you is over at revenue-roadblock-scorecard.com. If you want to know which of the 9 revenue roadblocks are standing in your way, you can do that there. It takes less than 5 minutes, and tons of value in that report. So go check it out. And until next time, take care.